startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators, the crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there. So if we look at the other side of the picture, you told me the story of and some insights from the investment point of view, that how acumen is different from different investment funds, and what sort of an impact it is creating.
If you want to be a leader going forward in the future, especially if you're a startup, is get your game plan aligned with a sustainable model.
Firms like Acumen and similar firms, even the one who want their money back 2x or 3x, what do you think are they exactly looking for that people miss out on?
If you don't have to raise, if you can start your business without money, it's better for you not to raise money from other people.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, my name is SaadAhmedAllahwala and welcome back to another podcast. Today we have a very special guest, someone who flew in all the way from Sweden for this podcast.
Yeah. Happy to be here. My name is Shannon Lovgren, and I am delighted to be on this international podcast.
Thank you so much. Oh, you're the one making it international.
Yeah.
Only if... Oh, well, I'll cover more details later. We are running a bit short on time, but I'm very excited to invite Shannon on this podcast and host her. I'm really happy to see her finally visiting Pakistan. I got to know her while she was here. I'd heard stories of her before, but now this is my turn actually interviewing her after hundreds of interviews by the kids.
Yeah.
Or tens at least.
Tens at least.
Yeah. I know a bit about your profile. So you told me that you grew up in a small town in the US, and you started off with, you were gonna marry a diplomat, but you ended up becoming one.
Yeah, that was my childhood dream I wanted to marry a diplomat because that would mean that we would travel the world and see exotic places. It never dawned on me that I could be the diplomat, right, and that I could actually do those things. And then I became one and was like, maybe I shouldn't put my hopes on other people and just take care of myself.
But no, that was, you told me so many stories and there's so much to cover. And amazing stories. Not just stories, but reality. Mm-hmm. But I want to know a bit more about your global ventures. The companies that you have been associated with. Mm-hmm. And one point that I will try to focus on today is going to be fundraising.
Oh, great.
And because that's something that everyone is excited about, everyone talks about, but a lot of people don't know about it.
Right.
How it's done, and especially impact investment and impact funding. So if I could know a little more about Acumen, how your experience was there, and then we can go on to investments.
Sure. So I used to work for, should I look at you or should I look at the camera?
However you like.
All right, well, I'm going to look at you.
Okay.
So I worked with Acumen, which is a nonprofit venture capital fund, and they take philanthropic money, which is money from wealthy individuals, companies, or foundations, and they invest that in early stage companies who are trying to solve problems of poverty. So my job was a fundraiser for them. I was head of Nordic development and partnerships. And what's key about fundraising is it is a partnership. Like people who want to give you money want to be part of what you're doing. And so you need to make them feel like this is a cool thing that we're doing and you get to be a part of it. Not that you can be a part of it, but that you get to be a part of it. So it's something elite and cool and fun and world-changing. So when I would talk about Acumen's work, I would try to get the investors to imagine the problems that they wanted to solve in the world. And most people who are charitable or want to, or philanthropists, they want to make a positive difference. And so how can they make the biggest difference that's somehow aligned with their interests and values? So with Acumen, it was very, I wouldn't say easy, but people who are internationally minded, who feel terrible about the inequality in the world, that there is so much poverty, we could say these are some of the projects that Acumen is funding. These are the businesses that we are funding. And this, over time, because Acumen uses what they call patient capital. So usually when an impact investor or an investor invests in a company, they have an exit window of
Yeah.
like 4 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Acumen has an exit window of 7 to 12 years. So
Wow.
we take this money, and because it's philanthropic and we don't need to get a profit off of it, we have time to build these companies authentically with, practical growth. All these companies are in low resourced areas where things are very complicated, and they can grow over time with the help of experts like from Acumen who are helping them build their business in a sustainable way. So after 10 years, they have a business that's ready to scale or is scaled, and it's a sustainable business that will go on to impact hundreds of millions of people's lives or hundreds of thousands of people's lives with the goal of 1 million lives. And that's something really cool to be part of. So you're not just giving charity and having to reinvest every year. You're investing in a company, and that company is growing, and that company is going to continue long after Acumen has exited,
Right.
and continue to make a big impact. So that was a unique selling point where I could get people who like investing but have also done charity, because it was a nice hybrid of both of those worlds. And since Acumen is nonprofit, they knew that they were just giving this money as charity, as a
Yeah.
grant to Acumen to use as an investment. So they had no expectation of their money back. And Acumen had a goal of, they wanted a 1x return. They want to get their money back so that they can reinvest it into new companies. In reality, we got about 80 cents on the dollar back from our investments. But through that, we were able to impact 500 million people's lives
Wow. In how many years?
in 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And with only $150 million.
No way.
So when you think of all the impact funds out there who are like, oh, we're an impact fund and we have $300 million. And you're like, where's your impact? With Acumen, they were one of the early impact investors. And now they have built a model and a system that's working. And they can show with this $150 million and 150 plus companies, we've been able to build a sustainable business that serves the poor and impacts 500 million people's lives.
That's phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Wow. And only in the past 20 years. I mean, when I was 2, it started.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And it's continuing to grow. So now we have big ambitions to reach the next 500 million people's lives in half the time. So by 2030, we want to have reached 1 billion people with these early stage companies. And these are early stage companies that are in places like Pakistan or in places like rural Uganda or Tanzania. And they're solving problems of education, energy, financing, all like the things that are the big catalytic
Wow.
industries.
That's phenomenal. Um, so if we look at the other side of the picture, you told me the story of, and some insights from the investment point of view, that how Acumen is different from different investment funds, and what sort of an impact it is creating. But on the other side of the picture, there's the people who are trying to raise investments, and a lot of people are trying to start businesses. Now, firms like Acumen and similar firms, even the one who want their money back 2x or 3x, what do you think are they exactly looking for that people miss out on?
And in raising funds, it depends on who your investor is. So one thing that I recommend for any fundraiser is do your due diligence on who you are talking to. Don't just walk into a meeting with your great idea and expect them to give money. You need to know who they are, who they've invested in the past, what their values are, what they care about, so that you can approach an investor as not just a bag of money, but as an individual who cares about things and cares about your product or your service that you're selling or raising money for. So definitely know who your investor is so that when you talk to them, you know to mention a couple of things offhand that they happen to care about or reference another investment that they've made and how it relates to what you're trying to do, whether it be how the financing model or the outcome that you're hoping to achieve or something. But care about the people, care about your investors. You already care about your business.
Right.
And if
Well,
you're
hopefully.
if you're an investor, you have seen a whole bunch of businesses, and you're just a thing. But if you care about them as an individual and you kind of create a partnership with them, get them engaged, then they're much more likely to care about your business and to want to give you money. So be likable and be interested in them and not just yourself.
What if it's someone who isn't likable?
What?
If it's someone who isn't likable at all?
You know what? Like people who are unlikable. Like even the weirdos, when you when you find an investor who's, kind of a jerk,
Yeah.
approach them with the mindset of, wow, that person is really something. They feel totally comfortable being a jerk. That's some confidence that they would have. And don't take it personally. Just consider them a really interesting learning opportunity. And don't take it personally because people are who they are. And don't approach them with fear. Approach them with like delight, like, wow, I get to work with this jerk. Like, I don't usually get to work with jerks. This person is really something.
Interesting. No, that's a very interesting point of view, and a lot of people take it. Even in our house, we're always taught that no matter what life throws at you, or how the person is next to you, if you just smile.
Yeah.
If they're angry at you, smile, because eventually now that is gonna make them smile, or that will convert them. No, that's amazing. Um, we hear about the SDGs a lot,
Mhm.
and you have been working with around the SDGs for almost forever.
Yeah.
Um, how important are they now with people, again, who are starting a business, whether they're investing or not? And how important will it be starting from or before 2030? Because now 2030 is a goal. It's supposed to be very important right now.
Yeah.
People are still taking it for granted. People still don't know about it.
Right.
But focusing on a specific SDG, telling people I'm working on this or I'm not, how important it is now in this age.
Yeah. It depends on who you're approaching. If you're approaching a government or a local, an investor who has anywhere on their website the Sustainable Development Goals, then it's very important. And it's a good thing for any impact investor to know what the Sustainable Development Goals are and how your product or service relates to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And have that, how your company helps solve the Sustainable Development Goals as a slide on your pitch deck. You can hide it if the investor that you're pitching to doesn't care about that. But you should be able to, if you're an impact or a startup, or you're a startup that wants to make a difference, learn what the Sustainable Development Goals are and how your business relates to them so that you have that language to communicate what you're trying to do. It makes you look global, it makes you look thoughtful, and it helps you be better at marketing what you're trying to do.
No, but so of course, okay. Um, so you've mentioned that showing that you are working around the with the sustainable development goals would help. But aren't like now policies being made in favor more of people who are more sustainable, who are more environmentally friendly, or I mean, we know all about the carbon credits and how there's a lot of negative aspects to it too. But I mean, looking at the good picture and the good sides of the world, um, is it in the long term? Is it better and sustainable for the business to be focusing around the SDGs?
Yes. So sustainability is the future.
Yeah.
We've been doing business now for the last, eons, and we're using up the world's resources at a rate where we are causing climate damage, we're causing garbage damage, we're causing environmental
Human
damage.
life
Yeah.
damage.
Yeah. So if you want to be a leader going forward in the future, especially if you're a startup, is get your game plan aligned with a sustainable model, whether that be circularity, meaning that your product can be reused and recycled and is in a way that doesn't take away from the environment, but somehow can add. And if you have a destructive business, then you better put something in there that's like, and this is how we are trying to mitigate or offset the damage that we are doing. Do something. But if you are not sustainable as a new business in 2024, you're really missing an opportunity, because sustainability is the future. And if you have a business that isn't sustainable, then rework your business to make it so that it is sustainable, because we just have this one planet and we're all suffering the consequences of our overconsumption and lack of humanity. So do better. Like, we can all do better, and especially when you are just starting.
Um, no, that's a beautiful point, and that's very true that sustainability is very important. It's not the future; it's the current. It's the now, and people think that's difficult. But me, our family, I mean, I don't think we've, as a family, have shown to the world that, or even in around Pakistan, how easy it is and how beneficial and how profitable businesses actually are while we're sustainable.
Yeah.
A lot of the businesses that we're starting and expanding into, we're going into forestation, we're going to agriculture-based recycling. A lot of businesses that are profitable,
Yeah.
but at the same time, they're sustainable, and like we get carbon credits, so we can sell those even. Um, um, but moving on, a lot of people think that raising money is important for their businesses.
Yeah.
Until they do, they don't start anything. And I've asked you already what people miss out on. But who do you think, seeing so many people raise and you raising yourself, who should actually raise and who shouldn't?
If you don't have to raise, if you can start your business without money, it's better for you not to raise money from other people, because then you're accountable to other people and their desires, their demands, their agendas, and you give away part of the value of your company to someone, and it's usually a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be working and you give, say, someone 25% of your business for $1,000, and you know that your business has the potential to scale to $1 million, why would you give $250,000 to someone who doesn't do any of the work? So if any way possible, hustle to bootstrap your business. And if it takes a little bit longer, but you own more of your company, then do that. And the exception to that is when your investor is connected, or if they have expertise that is going to help you build your business
Yeah.
beyond what you can do yourself. So it's a little bit of a balance. But if some Joe Schmo is going to give you, $1,000 and then expect 25% of your company, and they have really nothing else to offer you than the money, don't take that money. Figure out another way to build to get what it is you need that $1,000 for.
Yeah.
Because that's not a whole lot of money, but that's a whole lot of equity.
If I want to start a new acumen,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are starting to now. I mean, we see all around us. I think so. It's not a large number, but only in Pakistan in the past 3 to 4 years, we've 10x the number of investment companies that we have. So a lot of people are now our VCs, and a lot of people have registered venture capital firms or just investment firms. But if we look at sustainable businesses, are they actually profitable? Around what you've seen globally.
Yeah. So sustainable businesses are just businesses that happen to have sustainability built into their business plan. So these businesses are profitable just like any other business is profitable. It depends on your business plan and what service you are providing. But more and more, it is expected from the big investment firms that, like BlackRock and Vanguard and these big investment companies, that your business be sustainable. So if you're not a sustainable company, then they're not going to want to invest in you. But if you are a sustainable
Really?
company, yeah, more and more. And now in Europe anyway, it's a regulation. So they have these new ESG laws, and
Yeah.
ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And you are required to report on your environmental impact, your social impact, to make sure that you're not violating human rights, and your governance, so that your governance has a gender balance, and that it is set up in a way that is good eventually for the environment and social impacts of your company. So that's the norm. That's coming to be the norm at least in Europe as of this year. And so if you want to be part of the future business, you need to have those things built into your business plan and your reporting, because it's going to be part of accounting
Yeah.
starting next year. And
Interesting.
so, yeah, so don't think it's this or that. Sustainability is part of a good business plan. It is not an add-on, like, oh, now I do something good with my business. No, just build your business so that it has that in mind, because you're going to be accountable for it, going forward in time. Like, get it right now. Don't wait and think, oh, I'll fix my problem later. Just think about it now and get curious about what that means. Like, what is okay? I understand the environmental side. Like, I don't want to do environmental damage, but what does the social impact mean, and how does that? But people oftentimes think that sustainable businesses have to be nonprofits. And
Yeah, that's something that I was gonna ask next. That what's around that? Why do people think that?
yeah,
And what is different?
well, because the business model has changed over the last 20 years. So people used to think that the only way you could do good was to have a nonprofit, and that nonprofit businesses were like charity, like you do good, you give money away. But we've seen over time that sometimes that creates dependency, sometimes that does not solve the problem long term. The better way is to build a business that is a good business that provides service with the incentive of the founder to earn money. And then they have a better chance of being sustainable long term, or they scaling, growing. But they're not mutually exclusive, and we need to just like throw out that old model of you have to do good means you have to be a nonprofit. No, do good, make a profit, because that is how we change the way the world runs, by disrupting this winner take all mentality that a lot of businesses have, of like, I'm going to take all the resources from the earth and not give anything back. Just no, it's a new model, and that old way is over. And even though Acumen is a nonprofit, we only invest in for-profit businesses.
Hmm.
And the reason we are a nonprofit is because there's traditional venture capital doesn't invest in high risk, remote businesses. They're not willing to take the risk. So we set up Acumen Fund as a way to take that high risk and have that longevity. But there's plenty of room in the market for profit businesses.
Now I'd like to know your SDG. What is Shannon's SDG?
I love the Sustainable Development Goals as this big framework for things. But of the 17 different goals, my favorite is goal number 17, which is partnerships for the goals. And the reason why I love that is because you can do amazing things, I can do amazing things, your listeners can do amazing things. But when we partner together, we can do so much more. And maybe your business isn't like my business, but if we partner together, we can do something else that's like unimaginable. And we like lift each other up, then we set a new standard of what cooperation looks like. And it's fun. To do things in partnerships with others is more fun than doing it by yourself.
I agree.
Yeah. And it's my personality is that I really like people. And I see you're like that, similar, that you like people. So it's easy for me. I'm passionate about connecting with others.
I feel like one thing that I personally haven't learned, and I also feel around me in the society, whether it's in Pakistan or whether it's in, I mean, I've been all around the world, but more around brown people.
Mm-hmm.
We miss the element of partnerships.
Yeah.
And there's very less partnerships. What do you feel like is the key? I mean, I've asked this question almost on all my podcasts. And I've heard, okay, it's a relationship, it's like a marriage, you have to have partnership contracts, you have to have this, you have to have that. But what is the true essence of partnerships that you feel really nourishes? It doesn't have to be like a co-founders, but it can be within among businesses that they started a joint venture or they are now collaborating with each other, sharing some resources and helping each other. But these partnerships, these collaborations, a lot of time we see MOUs being signed, a lot of people announcing that they're doing partnerships, but it never has any tangible effects. Like, is there a key to partnerships you feel that people miss out on?
Yeah. So I think a lot of times people think maybe we should work together, but there's a underlying mistrust or a underlying sense of competition. And when you when you have a shared value, base your MOU or your partnership on the shared value and the shared goal, not on just the relationship, because relationships change over time and resources change over time. So when you say we want to work on a combined goal and you create your MOU, you also have to create time, a budget, and a vision for what you want that partnership to look like. So a lot of times I think partnerships are built with kind of like, hey, I like you, you like me, let's do something together. And that's great. That's the beginning of the partnership. But the real action that's going to be taken from the partnership is to treat it like any other KPI, where you say, you and I are working together. We have this vision that we want to invest in 2 more businesses that focus on whatever. And we're going to do it within this time. And we have this much of budget that we've dedicated, you and I. And this is how we're going to get it done. This is the timeline. You build it into your business structure instead of it just being a handshake and a PR opportunity. It's part of business. And when you do that, there's usually really good outcomes where both parties feel like they've been enriched from that partnership.
There it is, guys. That's Shannon's playbook to partnerships. No, I think that's a very right way to put it. And the reason why why it's so important for me to ask you is that you feel so strongly about collaboration and the partnership that I really needed your point of view for it. Because you have seen so many cultures, you have worked in so many cultures, and so many problems you've seen. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We are sort of running late for the airport.
Are we?
But
Okay.
I would really like to thank you for coming all the way to Pakistan.
Thank you for having me in
It
Pakistan.
really encourages us and the school and everyone that you've met, even the weddings that you attended, so much that you did in this like 6 days, 7 days.
Yeah, 7 days.
And everyone was really happy to see you. Everyone was really like the amount of happiness that you've spread just by coming here and just spending time with us, being happy. It's really made us all very happy.
Oh, thank you. I've
And
been welcomed with open arms, so I couldn't be more delighted that people have given their time, they've been kind to me, they've been funny, and I didn't really have any expectations of your family, but you not only has your family embraced me, but your extended family has.
everyone, you met everyone.
Yeah, I met everyone. So now I have a lot of friends in Pakistan, and I look forward to coming back sometime.
You're basically an Allahwala now.
Shannon Lovgren.
Yeah, Shannon Lovgren. So, thank you for your time, Shannon. I'd like to know a bit more about you and your background and how all of this really started.
So my career started by traveling. So I had the opportunity to travel to China on a bicycling team when I was 19.
Wow.
And I came from a small town in California, and the idea of me being invited to be on a Chinese bicycling team was insane. And I wasn't going to go because I didn't have the money. And a mentor of mine said, just say yes and we'll figure out the money. Don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, but I have to pay for college next year. How am I going to do it? And she said, again, this is an opportunity. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Take it. Like, you take your opportunities when you get them. And so I went, and I don't know how the money came to make me able to go on it. I don't know how I had money when I got back to pay for college the next year.
Wow.
But I went to China, and it opened the door that, oh my goodness, this was so easy. I can just get on a plane and go someplace else. So flash forward 5 years later, and me and a friend are traveling. We decide to sell everything that we own and travel for as long as our money will take us. And again, I went and traveled across the US to Europe, through the Middle East, and into East
No.
Africa.
No way.
Yeah. And we thought we would, we had enough money to travel for an entire year.
How far along this, like, when was this?
This was when I was 22,
Oh.
so a very long time ago, or 23, I guess. And we didn't have that much money. We were backpackers, and we lived on like less than $10 a day traveling.
I'm trying to imagine this, but I'm trying to imagine it without internet.
Yeah,
And
there was
without
no
smartphone.
internet.
So I cannot imagine it.
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, we had books. We had to go to travel agencies. We had one book that was like, "Let's go Europe," one "Let's go
Wow.
Middle East," one "Let's go East Africa." It was wild, and we had to write letters home to our family because it cost too much to call them.
Oh my
and so,
God.
whatever. But when I was traveling in East Africa, I saw that there was so much poverty, and that really made me think, like, I need to do something to help fix this challenge. And when I went back to the United States after that trip, I decided that I was going to do that. And then flash forward another 5 years, because things take time. I got an opportunity to work in East Africa, or to visit East Africa. So I went to East Africa, and while I was there, a bomb went off, a terrorist attack on the U.S. Embassy by Al-Qaeda. And at the time, I was an emergency medical technician. So I ran to the bomb site thinking, like, what could I do to help these people? And there I helped get people on an ambulance. I went to the hospital and helped do emergency, care to make sure that people weren't bleeding and help pick glass out of their skin. And that led to me volunteering to work for an NGO that was helping these families that were victims of the bomb blast. And then USAID, which was the big aid organization that wanted to help these people, they saw what I was doing and they said, "Can you come work for us?" And I said, "Absolutely, that would be a dream." And so next thing you know, I have a big job at USAID and I'm working in Kenya for the next 5 years. And that wasn't my plan, but that's what I did.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. Then after that, my contract ended. I went back to the United States and started to have a family. And after having 3 children, I was like, what job could I do that, like, where you get to help people? And I couldn't really think of any great job that I could do internationally. But my uncle was a firefighter, and he jokingly said, "Well, you should become a firefighter, Shannon. Like, you're a tough girl." And I said, "Well, I am a boy mom, so." So the first thing that you have to do to become a firefighter is this really intense physical fitness test. And I was like, "Yeah, I just had a baby 6 months ago, but yeah, let me try this test." And I passed it, like
Wow.
flying colors, no problem. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to become a firefighter. So I did that, became a firefighter, and 3 months into the job, I got injured. I was just running, and my legs were so strong that overstriding to keep up with the real tall guy in front of me just cracked my pelvis in half. So yeah, exactly. That was so then I went and worked for the fire department in their environmental department, and that got me started on sustainability. Then other things happened, and I got an opportunity to move to Sweden, and I started working there for a NGO working in sustainability. First, it was the Millennial Development Goals, then the Sustainable Development Goals. I worked there for 7.5 years teaching sustainability, and then I started working with Acumen. And that leads you up to today, where I am starting my own sustainability consulting firm and working still to help startups build partnerships and grow.
When is that happening, and what is that?
What is the startup that I'm working with? So I work with a company called Accessibility Cloud, and they are working to make all websites sustainable. So in Europe, it's the law. And in America, it's the law that every single website should be accessible to all types of users, whether they be blind or have vision problems or hearing problems or have some sort of neurodivergent issues, that your website is set up to have certain criteria that meet the law. And so they do that. They test your website to make sure that it's compliant. And when it's not compliant, they give you why it's not compliant, what rule you've broken, and how you can fix it. And it's an amazing startup. And I'm super happy to be part of that early team to build partnerships so that UX designers can make money and corporations can have better websites.
Interesting. What's it called again?
It's called accessibilitycloud.com.
Awesome. And before we finish it off, how can someone connect with you? Is LinkedIn a good platform to talk?
LinkedIn is the best place to connect with me. If you want to connect with me on a personal or on a professional level.
Yes, professional only.
Yeah, professional only. I love having new connections on LinkedIn, and I'm excited to be able to do new partnerships with people who I haven't met before, especially in Pakistan. Let's figure out ways that we can build a more sustainable future, and it's more fun to do it together.
Exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But again, thank you. And I'm sure my dad's already asked you about Pakistan and all, right?
He has.
Yeah. So I wouldn't bore you with that again. But again, thank you so much for the time for the podcast, for coming to Pakistan, and really hope to see you again here soon.
Okay, thank you.
Startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators, the crazy ones. the misfits, the troublemakers. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there.